Namaskaram. My name is Kishan of Grade 10 from Purna Chetana. Today, we're here with another podcast with an exciting guest, Mr. Vivek Shangari. He's an expert in the world of cyber warfare and works with many different national security agencies in the development of cyber weapons. He also heads a company called Ace Hacker, which is a private military contractor. Let us talk more about this field and learn much more about this field with Mr. Vivek Shangari. Namaskaram, sir.
Namaste.
Yeah, so I've been racking my brain for the past few days on how to start this conversation.
Okay.
Because the world of cybersecurity, cyber warfare, in even computer science, right? It's so vast.
Yeah.
But also, what I've noticed is it's also very new, right?
Yes.
Computer science was a thing around the 1950s during Alonzo Church's time, Alan Turing's time, and then we had personal computers around the 1970s. And cyber warfare it's very recent, right? In the past 10 to 20 years, it's become a thing.
Yeah.
So I've been racking my brain on how to start this conversation because there's no beginning.
Yeah.
And it's so vast. But what I want to ask you is, what exactly is cyber warfare? What exactly is cyber security? Because a lot of people will know like the basics of it. But
Okay.
when it comes to an expert, you will look at it in a different way.
Okay. So there are two things. Whenever we talk about cybersecurity, for example, right? In today's context, in the world of scammers, right? Cybersecurity is about not giving your OTP to somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
But on a general scale, it's like all the systems that you use, right, are protected by some level of security through encryption, through different other mechanisms, through processes. Now, why is that? It's because you don't want unauthorized use of your tools or your systems. You don't want people to barge into your home and steal stuff or vandalize stuff, so that so to protect your home you have locks, right? So cybersecurity is all about how do you protect your personal devices and how do you protect your data
Right.
from unauthorized use, and how what you do to ensure that it doesn't gets misused. So you have to apply cybersecurity. You have to apply security everywhere. You deal with banks now, right? Through an app.
Yeah.
You have to ensure that your applications are extremely safe. Nobody should be able to hack in. Nobody should be able to transfer data or money from one account to the other. You are in the school. You are using some system to give tests.
Yeah.
Your instructor has to ensure that students can't log in and steal question papers, for example. Whatever do you think about has to be secure. So when we talk about securing our applications and our systems, loosely we use the term cyber security. Cyber warfare, on the other, so cyber security is so let's say it's very defensive in nature. I'm trying to defend myself from unauthorized access.
Yeah.
Cyber warfare, on the other hand, is offensive in nature, right? I am developing tools that are used for these kind of attacks. Somebody has to write that code, right? Somebody has to build that tool for for other programmers or other hackers uh, to use these tools against an enemy state, for example. When you talk about cyber warfare, it's mostly about one nation state using technology as a weapon on the other nation's state. So, state sponsored development of such tools and mechanisms is what you loosely refer to as cyber warfare activities. When the attack actually happens, when a nation state actually uses these technologies on an other nation state in an act to, let's say, cause chaos, or maybe just so that is cyber warfare. One level below, for example, if you're using some systems to eardrop on somebody's conversation, steal some sensitive information, that's or keeping track of that person's movement without his will. That's surveillance. So surveillance and cyber warfare are mostly, nation states will employ this technique on other nation states.
I think inherently when we're talking about warfare or war, when the word war is used, somewhere you imagine a lot of bloodshed and all that. Is that what takes place during in cyber warfare?
Yeah. So that's a very real scenario, because let's say what will happen in a. Have you seen this movie called Die Hard 4? Bruce Willis movie, old movie.
Die Hard,
Yeah. Okay. So in Die Hard 4, the entire plot line of that movie is around a concept called fire sale. Fire sale is a scenario where what happens is, as a nation state, uh, I can disrupt your transportation systems. I can bring down your banking systems. I can bring down your electricity grid. So let's say, for whatever reason, one nation state actually launches that kind of a cyber attack on any other nation state. So they'll cut off electricity grid. What will happen to the patients in the hospital, right? Those guys will suffer. If, let's say, in general electricity goes down, your water for the city is not getting processed.
Right.
You will cause a lot of not just inconvenience, but a lot of issues for the inhabitants of the city. I disrupt, let's say, your transportation system. Flights can't take off. Flights can't land. Um, you know, I take off your banking systems. You can't bank online. You can't make transactions. ATMs won't work. This is, and I have done all that without firing a single bullet, right?
Okay.
But the harm that
Right.
I will cause will be on par or on a higher scale if an army was to walk, let's say foot soldiers were to walk into a territory and start using lethal weapons on the civilians. This is exactly the same thing with two fundamental differences. One, uh, with cyber warfare, I can escape accountability. It's very difficult to pinpoint who did it or where did the attack actually came from.
Yeah.
Second thing is, I don't have to use actual bullets or bombs or missiles, but I can cause destruction at the same level or even more. So, yeah.
And so, I mean, it's really scary, right?
Yes.
And it gets you wondering, when were the first signs, or when was the first few signs of cyber warfare that took place?
So, one of the first cyber weapons that we know of was in the year 2010, 2011.
Right.
So Iran had this secret weapons development program, a nuclear weapons development program, and they were keeping it very hidden.
Natanz nuclear.
Natanz
Yeah.
nuclear program. So this is a city very close. So they had buried deep into the desert,
Okay,
and their
wow.
nuclear power plant was like way below the desert, and they had very sophisticated uh, air defense missiles guarding that entire area.
Wow.
Now this was a actual threat to Israel. And US also had put a lot of sanctions on Iran to make sure that their nuclear program does not proceed. But that didn't seem to have any effect. Iran was procuring materials and technology, whatever it needed, and it was going ahead with a nuclear development program. Israel and US then got together. They worked on developing a cyber weapon. It's called Stuxnet. And an entire operation was called Olympic Games. So they worked on this program for almost 4 to 5 years, and they made a program that targeted the PLCs of PLCs is programmable logic circuits controller uh, uh, of a particular kind of machine which was controlling the centrifuges in the Natanz power plant.
Yeah.
This program dug in. They launched a program. This program could evade antiviruses. This program could hide itself. This program could replicate itself. It can send information home as to where, what operations it is performing, and it burrowed in to the Natanz power plant, and it started to spin the centrifuges out of control. So make the centrifuges go out of control, and when the engineers would try to do stop it from happening or even try to see what's going wrong, they would find nothing. They would see on their systems that everything was fine, and yet the centrifuges are going spinning out of control. So it'll spin it out of control and then stop. Then it'll hide itself. Then again it'll come up, spin it out of control. So it destroyed almost 1,000 centrifuges of in the Natanz power plant, sending Iran nuclear program back by 10 to 15 years.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Sabotaged the entire program. And US and Israel were able to do that by, as I said, not firing a single bullet.
Right.
The entire nuclear program was destroyed. So that was the first instance of cyber warfare. How the world realized it, because Stuxnet didn't confine itself; it actually grew bigger. Right? It's a program, right? So it started to spread across different machines, and eventually found a way back home into US.
Okay.
Started causing little problems over there, and technology evolves very fast.
Yeah.
So Stuxnet's, so it was identified and was captured in the sense some antivirus teams around the globe figure out that it's an actual virus that uses almost 20 zero-day exploits. It analyzed it and it published the source code online for everybody else to analyze. But that was the first instance of a cyber warfare program that was that the world woke up to one fine day. But yeah, that happened in 2010, 2011.
This sounds a bit like a movie plot.
Yeah. It's absolutely. So what used to be science fiction earlier is reality now.
Right.
So there are some good. So there's a very good series in Netflix also. It's called Mr. Robot.
Huh.
That also shows a fire sale scenario. They've researched that part very well. Then there is this movie called Die Hard. Watch it whenever you get time.
Yeah.
But things that used to be stories in that point of time are all reality now. Stuxnet was very like over the period of time. Stuxnet has become extremely sophisticated. Now we have Dooku, Flame, which are way more powerful than what Stuxnet could do. Russia used something, or they might have used something similar to blow up the Nord pipeline, going below Sweden to stop. So so we might have had, as recently as a year back, there is this one usage of a cyber warfare program, but it always it's a cat and mouse game. A few years back, Mumbai's electricity grid went down for 24 hours.
Okay.
On the same day, Ladakh electricity grid went down. That could be some nation says testing out a program like Stuxnet against us.
And Stuxnet, from the way you're saying it, it's not traced by antivirus blockers and all that. So I mean, it doesn't sound like a normal virus that you usually have.
So now we can trace it because now we know the signatures.
Right.
So what happens is there's something called a zero-day exploit. A zero-day exploit is a bug that has not yet been discovered by the company who manufactured that piece of equipment, or it has not been discovered by antivirus companies. So there is a vulnerability in your system that has not been discovered yet. Now that because it has not been discovered yet, let's say some hacker discovers it. Now he has two options. He can report that bug back to the company, saying there's a bug in your program, so rectify it. and many companies offer this bug bounty program
Yeah.
to hackers,
Yeah.
where they pay a lot of money to hackers to convince them that if you find a vulnerability in our system, please let us know, and here's $100,000, $150,000, so that you don't sell it in the black market on darknet. But let's say there's a vulnerability in the system which has not been identified yet. I can use that vulnerability to get in. Uh, uh, Once that vulnerability is discovered, the company or the antivirus company whose job is to kind of discover these vulnerabilities will release something called as a patch. Then be patched up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, a lot of times you see your phone getting updated, your computers. What are they trying to do? They're trying to they discover these vulnerabilities on a daily basis and try to patch it up. So Stuxnet, which was made like almost so many years back, utilized 20 zero-day exploits for different things, for payload, for delivery, and for command and control. Payload is that part of your virus that delivers the harmful code into the system. Delivery is that part of your weapon, a cyber weapon, which is responsible for navigating the program from one location into another. So I launch this program from somewhere. It has to find its way, burrow its way into your system. Command and control is like, if I have launched a software like this, I want to know what's happening with it. It has to ring back home and share all the data. But it's such a sophisticated piece of technology that it needs to utilize any vulnerability and all the vulnerabilities in the systems in an entire process as much as it can. So there's always this race to find an exploit, zero-day exploits. These are actually sold in the black market also. So yeah, Stuxnet, the reason it was able to evade antiviruses and all these security mechanisms was because it utilized about 20 zero-day exploit. Today's cyber weapons utilize double that amount, or you don't, we don't know because they are 0 days, right? Till it comes out and causes some destruction, it is caused and identified, then we'll know how many 0 days was it utilizing.
So, like you were saying, you were talking about private companies placing a bounty for people, for hackers to maybe find an exploit, and then they can tell them, and they get a reward.
Yeah.
And so the French government recently, they did something similar to that, where they're paying around 20,000 euros to a person who can find a few exploits on the government part of it.
So it's a very common practice, penetration testing and bug bounty. So Microsoft, for example, has one of the best bug bounty programs in the world. What they do is that so a lot of systems around the globe works on Windows operating system, right? You use Microsoft products in many other areas. You use Azure, you use Outlook for emails, you use their Windows operating system on your laptops anyway, right? So there are many such products which Microsoft has, which consumers use. So their program is, what they do is they say, they have this bug bounty program where they say that, if you find an exploit which we have not yet discovered, instead of trying to sell it in the black market on darknet, sell it back to us, tell us about it, so that we can patch that system, that error, so that our consumers and customers around the globe are not inconvenienced, and also it is not misused. And as a reward for your efforts, because it requires a special skill set to be able to do that job and do that job well. So in reward for your efforts, we'll pay you a very good amount of money, right? So a company like Apple, Google, Microsoft, they'll have these huge programs. But even you, let's say you have started a startup and you want to test your product into the market. Now, an entrepreneur can utilize the same process. What you can do is you can put your prototype into the market and make a competition around it, a hackathon.
Yeah.
And you can say that this is my product. Please test it. Try to break into it. Try to break it. And if you're able to do that, you know, uh, there'll be some kind of a reward. But it's a very effective technique to find vulnerabilities in the system.
Right. And so, I mean, you're talking, we were talking about cyber warfare.
Yes.
And the first signs of it, Stuxnet, right?
Yeah.
2010, 2011. So,
Yes.
I mean, in the past decade, that's
Yes.
it. So, it gets you wondering, what about the laws that are implemented, right? Especially at a nation's level. When we're talking about the Indian Constitution, it was made much before cyber warfare, cyber security became a thing. So how do you move as per making these laws? How do you know something is ethicful or unethicful? Because we're a huge geography, right? And it comes with many people having different opinions on what law is right and what law is wrong.
Yeah.
So in the making of laws for cyber security and cyber warfare, how does a country go as per doing this?
See, ethics is based on context. For example, let's say you get into a bar fight and you kill somebody. Is it ethical?
No, it's not.
You will be punished for it, right?
Right.
But if you're on the border and you kill an enemy soldier, is that ethical? You're doing your job, right?
Yeah.
Both the situation, you've killed somebody.
Right.
But what has changed? The context has changed. So similarly, over here, the context matters a lot. If I have a weapon, I have a cyber weapon, whom is it being deployed against and who's deploying it? So if I have a surveillance system which is so powerful, or if I have a Stuxnet like weapon, if I deploy it to protect my country's digital borders, then it needs to be treated very differently if I use it in-house to spy on my business rival. The tool that will be used will exactly be the same, but the context has changed. So two things have come into the picture. Why have you used it, and on whose behest have you used it? So if the government asks me to use it against an enemy nation, it's fine. But I should not be using it, against my own civilian population, no matter if I agree with them or don't agree with them. So laws have to be framed keeping this context in mind. So that's one. So the other thing is, for example, when Trump came into the power the first time,
Right.
within a few months, his national security team sat with him and told him that we need to have a policy that if a cyber weapon is used against the United States of America, we will treat it as as a nuclear attack on the country, and we will respond accordingly. So if you launch a cyber attack on us, we can respond back with nukes because it's as dangerous. And he signed on that law, right? Because I mean, you need to know that how dangerous these technologies are and what kind of damage that they can cause. But the laws on how it will be used against between two nation states will be very different compared to how laws needs to be framed if such weapons or such technologies are used within the country's border, and then who's using it, right? So laws have to be framed keeping this context in mind.
Right, and so you're talking about treating cyber weapons like nuclear weapons. So it is, when you talk about cyber war, it is also very similar to a normal war, right? Other than the weapons and those few things. So what do you think of a weapon race taking place, like how Russia and America had it at one point for atom bombs? Do you imagine countries having this weapon race?
So it's already happening, right? Like you have dedicated units in the states, in Israel. You have NSA. you have units of CIA and many other law enforcement units uh, which are dedicated to developing cyber weapons and defending their nation state against cyber attacks. Yeah. Russia is extremely good at this game. China is extremely good at this game. So we have to not, because these are uh, very lethal uh, technologies, and the ramification of a use of a weapon like this can actually cause uh, destruction at the same level as any conventional war would cause. Uh, so the arms race in this area is already on. It's been on for a very long time. But the nature of the game is very different, right? It's code.
Right.
So you're not, if you develop a nuclear missile, you have to test it out. You have to actually launch it and see how it performs in the real world. Over here, uh, you're writing a piece of code, and it's when you test it, it's not going to make a loud bang. It's not going to make a lot of sound. So it's very stealthy in nature. If you launch a new cyber attack on somebody, implicating you that you caused this is also very difficult. A cyber attack will be routed through a lot of different IPs.
Yeah.
So I will not be. If you launch a nuclear missile on me, I will, I just know who did it. I can pinpoint the point of origin. With this, even that is very difficult.
And then, so what about the motivation for a weapon race or for a war? What do you think is going to be the next motivation? Because back then it was about power. Do you think history will repeat itself once again? Will be the same thing?
Uh, what is peace? Can you define peace?
Peace is, in some way, calmness, where I'm able to sit with you and
Peace, when it comes to geopolitical scenario, like what do we mean? Peace is an interval between two wars.
yeah.
War is imminent.
Okay.
War will happen. We'll always fight, right? The third world war, if it happens, it is not going to be a conventional war. It is going to be a cyber war, right? Also, you need weapons for deterrence. Uh, if you don't have a nuke, for example, the countries that have nuclear weapons are not going to take you seriously. They'll, keep pushing you. So the same way, when there is a new kind of a weapon um, that has come into existence, it's extremely lethal, and it can cause a lot of damage. You need to have deterrence. If you don't have it, then you'll always going to be a push around. So as far as weapons are concerned, you need to have the same or capabilities as the top countries in the world, or more. See, when your leader goes and talks to leaders of other nation states, when let's say there's a let's say diplomatic row, or even in peace times, or when leaders talk to each other, your leader also gets a lot of confidence, knowing that his team is very capable, right? Because, and he has uh, the his team's backing. His team has all the capabilities and all the technology and all the uh, firepower in the world to back him with his decisions. So when it comes to like any kind of weaponry, uh, it's very crucial that uh, you know you are able to kind of at least stand up to your enemy who's trying to bully you. The only way you will be able to stand up to a bully is when you have the confidence that you can push back.
Right.
And how do you push back? You know that in your uh, toolkit, you have whatever it needs, and you can use whatever is required to be able to push back.
And to be able to push back, you need the cyber weapons and all that. What are the few considerations that you take while making these cyber weapons?
Yeah. So one of the considerations that uh, the first thing that you have to ensure, especially when it comes to cyber weapons, is um, uh, how it is being utilized. As I said, if you build a nuke, I mean, it's a hardware device. I mean, you will not be able to fire
Yeah.
a nuke within your own country, right? If you, let's say, I'm a person, I don't like a political party, I can't nuke them off. Right? Uh, there are, I mean, it's just not possible. But with a cyber weapon, that's not the case, right? If I have a silent piece of tech and I want to, and I have the power to misuse it, it will be misused. So, as far as cyber weapons and surveillance systems are concerned, a nation state needs to have them, but there has to be very well defined processes in place to ensure that they are not misused by the powers that are controlling that system, right? Um, so if you have something like a prism technology, which was, US was using it to surveil every person
Yeah.
in the country, right? Edward Snowden kind of blew the lid off it, right? But that's a danger with these systems because they don't create a big bang. So when you use them, it's extremely stealthy. If your phone is getting tapped, with a piece of software that's utilizing a zero-day exploit, you don't know about it, nor your phone provider knows about it, nor your service provider knows about it until and unless that uh, security bug is patched up. But by the time it's patched up, I have done a lot of damage. I've accessed your data, I've breached your privacy. So the danger with these kind of systems are that you have to have very good processes in place to ensure that these can't be misused.
And when you're talking about cyber weapons, you're talking only about things like viruses and tapping phones and all that, or are you even talking about cyber weapons that are still they're hardware, but they're programmed by a certain way? So I mean, things like trackable missiles or even drones.
Yeah.
Things.
So cyber weapons, it's code, right? The moment it comes, the moment hardware comes into the picture, then you see a military hardware.
Yeah.
So anything that you can see moving around and touch, and it causes physical damage through use of explosive or just kinetic energy. That's your hardware equipment. A cyber weapon is your code, which is extremely stealthy.
Right.
A piece of code will wreak havoc on the system. So, in the case of Stuxnet, for example, there was a piece of code that gave the instruction to centrifuges to spin out of control. It actually caused physical damage, but the force that was causing physical damage was not under kinetic energy. It was just a piece of code giving a wrong instruction, which the machine took it up as authorized instruction, right? and it destroyed an actual infrastructure. That is what a cyber weapon is capable of. Now, let's say tomorrow uh, there's a attack against our banking infrastructure where uh, all money from your banks are is transferred to random accounts outside of Indian territory, right? Everybody's savings are lost. Your investments are gone. Records again about all your financial transactions are wiped off. It is a major threat to any nation wherever it happens. It's going to cause much more problems than, let's say, uh, a, an RPG attack on a in a small area.
Yeah.
So the lethality, uh, the effectiveness of a cyber weapon, if launched effectively, is is extremely disruptive. So yeah, but it's still code that does all this job. There is no hardware required over here.
Right. And so to be able to develop these weapons, you have to be super creative, right?
You have to be a good coder. Yeah.
Good coder, and then so they now we have parameters against things like Stuxnet, but to be able to find more zero-day exploits and all that, to
Yeah.
be able to create a new cyber weapon.
Yeah. So you need to know how to get onto the darknet. You need to know how to monitor chatter over there. Yeah, those are specific skill set that you learn on the job. But yeah, you need to be you need to be very creative. You need to be you know you need to be good with code. You need to understand how the bits and bytes in the machine moves. And you have to be a little you have to think like how a criminal does. Yeah.
Right. And so do you ever try to get inspiration from things like movies or stories or even historical epics?
Yeah.
Do you ever try to get some inspiration from that?
So everything that's shown in the movie. So how do movies get the inspiration? They get the inspiration from real life, right? Because these things exist. They just blow it up a little bit, to and they tap into their creative freedom a bit to kind of show it as bigger than life, you know, in that way.
Yeah.
But these are actual realities of life. You have so somebody made Stucknet, right? So there are those 4,000 people that were employed by both the nations, um, who were extremely good with this particular art. They were programmers. They knew how to write great code. They knew how to monitor chatter on the darknet. They knew how to talk to other hackers. Then if you're buying zero-day exploits, somebody is giving you the money to kind of buy it. Where's the money coming from? So the entire infrastructure exists. It just keeps getting better with time. Also, uh, how are you going to be better than, let's say, some a country which is not friendly to you but is very good at this game? By improving your own processes, by having that political will to actually put in resources into teams like this, hiring the right kind of people, identifying them first, giving them the right kind of training. So yeah, I mean, you have to invest it in all parts of the processes to ensure that you are able to kind of play out this game.
Right. And so we've been talking for a while about all of this, and really gets you wondering about how you got inspired into this path, right? Because during your time, the two main things, and there's becoming a doctor or becoming an engineer.
Yes.
Right. And under becoming an engineer, computer science is still a thing.
Yes.
But cyber warfare or cyber security wasn't as much as, I mean, it wasn't a path that you would go because it wasn't discovered as much.
Yeah.
So how did you get inspiration into going into this path?
So early on, I used to, in one of my jobs, I used to work with cryptography. So I was doing some work wherein I had to uh, work on encryption. So, uh, so personally, I got into this field when I was exposed at my job with the world of cryptography. But then I also had a little bit of luck working in my favor because my boss was actually from the defense forces who had uh, retired and taken up a corporate job. So I was working with him when at some point in time, we figured out that um, the world has kind of moved at a much faster pace, leaving India a bit behind, and we are trying to catch up when it came to technology. Also, there was a time when when Atal Bihari tested the first nuke. A lot of sanctions were put on India. Our access to technology itself was denied. We were denied cryogenic engines, for example. Uh, so we had to develop indigenous technologies all on our own. And there were two organizations who were working at this, ISRO and DRDO. But they didn't had the political support that they needed. They didn't had good amount of funds. Um, but that was the political scenario of the country. But yeah, so how did I get in? Like I was working with cryptography anyway, um, and then I was sucked into it when my boss decided to uh, work with defense forces. And he thought that I am a good resource to have, and then he pulled me in.
And so previous to that, you didn't have that much. I mean, you didn't have that much expertise in the field of cybersecurity.
So I could always write good code, but I was making commercial application. Uh, this required just looking at uh, the problem statement from a security angle. It's still writing and working with code, but a software engineer is trying to make an application to be able to sell it into the market and get some revenue out of it. But let's say if you have a little bit of twisted mind, then you can have a little bit more fun with a piece of code and try to kind of do some interesting things with it.
Yeah.
So and then if you have a little bend, if you have a little inclination towards cryptography, you're good with math, you're good with understanding how things move at a very at a bits and bytes level, then this is a great field to be in.
And so you already answered like a good amount of what my next question was going to be. But someone like me who's interested in getting into the field of cybersecurity or cyber warfare,
Yeah.
how do you move into it, right? Because it's very difficult, one thing. And I'm one of those people who just directly get I mean, one day I'll be maybe learning Python, the other day
Yeah.
I'll be trying to install Kali Linux so that I can play
Yeah.
on it or something.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you keep going here and there
Yeah.
because there is no proper class to say, okay, here you start and this is where you're going to finish.
Yeah.
Right? It's just you start here, you start on somewhere else, and you just have bits of projects and you don't know, you don't have that much clarity on it.
Yeah.
So how does someone like me, a 10th grader or maybe even younger,
Yeah.
how do we get into this field?
Okay. So because you mentioned Python, I'll start from there, right? So because you said, you are experimenting with Python, one thing is clear that, there's an interest when it comes to programming, right?
Right.
Now let's say Python or Java or many modern programming languages. The one thing that they have in common is that they put a lot of layers of abstraction between you and the machine. So for example, when you write a piece of code in Java, it'll translate into bytecode, and then that bytecode is then translated by the compiler into source code, and that is what the machine actually runs. But it has taken away one crucial part of the job from you. Is what Python or Java would tell you is, don't worry how things work at the machine level. I will handle memory for you. I'll handle garbage collection for you. I'll handle leaks for you. You just build your programs, and I will provide you a lot of libraries also for you to be able to make code. Right? A hacker goes much beyond that. He understands. He wants to know, uh, how do I actually, manipulate memory in the machine. So how do I am able to talk directly to the machine without having these layers of abstraction in between, so that I have more control over what I am doing. So it comes with its own set of problems, but you have to learn, you have to get comfortable with that level of programming. So you need to, it's always great to know how to code, but you need to also get down to, learn about assembly language programming, learn about the architecture of the machines, the operating system on which these applications are developed. So we have been talking about structnet a lot, for example, right? Structnet utilized, all the centrifuges used to work on Siemens operating system.
Okay.
Stuxnet developers had to learn entire that particular operating system, that and entire OS, which was controlling the programmable logic controllers for those systems. So they had to get into extreme in depth of how those things worked at the atomic level. So you have to become a programmer who can go into those kind of depths with you know with working with machine assembly language, then working with programs where you can. So for example, whenever we talk about cyber warfare weapons, you'll see ARM, C++ are the main programming languages that are used in development of these systems. Why? Because I can still work with pointers. With Java, Python, and higher level programming languages, uh, it does not allow me to do that. But if you want to develop commercial applications, great. That tech stack is enough. You want to be a cyber warrior, you need to know, you need to be 100x better than a regular software guy. So you have to get down to the absolute basics. Even in your school and colleges, we're actually taught about how not to worry about these things, and you are sometimes discouraged to working with pointers, for example, because it can cause some very serious issues, especially when it comes to data leaks and managing the memory on. But you need to have a bent of mind where you actually want to do this. You actually want to see how does a bit and byte move at an atomic level in my circuit. So, for example, when you have to divide a variable, for example, right, by two, uh, all you need to know is in Python how do you do it, in Java how do you do it.
Yeah.
But I can divide by two by right shifting the bit just by one space, and I've divided that value by two. But programmers usually will not get down to that level.
Right.
They just know uh, Python, what is the syntax, Java, what is the syntax. I'll get extremely good with working with that syntax. I'll get very comfortable working with the libraries. Uh, but when it comes to systems like that and you want to get started on that, you need to have that inbuilt curiosity to be able to dig as deep as you can to actually see how your code really controls the machine. So that's the first step.
So C, C sharp, C plus plus.
Not sharp.
Sorry,
C, C++,
C, C, C plus plus. From what
ARM.
you're saying, they're very similar to, or they're very close to the machine language itself.
Yeah, because you can manipulate memory. You can work with pointers. The more high level you get, all high level language. So why I call high level languages, because they manage stuff for you which people don't want you to fiddle with. A regular software guy is trained in a way to ensure that he doesn't have to manage memory on his own. Garbage collection happens automatically. So these programming languages are built to ensure safety. What you are trying to become is a guy who wants to break safety, right? So you need to know then what programming language enables me to fiddle around with things that I'm told all my life not to touch.
So that is all the field of reverse engineering and all that.
Reverse engineering is a technique. So you produce something. I don't know how it was developed. I don't have the blueprint, but I'm a smart guy. I can look at what you have shown to me, and I can reverse engineer the process on how it would have been made. Yeah, but it's like this. For example, you are given a piece of lock. You can apply. You know how to use that lock. You know how to close the door, apply a lock, right? A lock picker can also do that. But he has put in a lot of time and effort to understanding how that lock is made and how to open that lock with a set of tools, and even go beyond that. If those tools are not working, he can make his own tools, right? So when it comes to skill level and you want to kind of start off, the first and foremost important thing is that you want to be able to so you need to have that kind of curiosity and passion to be able to dig in so deep, have the have the curiosity to open up an entire system, look at how things are actually working, fiddle with it, make mistakes, and learn the tools that help you make your own tools. So it's not that Python can't. Python can, right? C Python is all about, you can extend Python itself with the C programming language. So but where would most Python developers stop? They will learn Python extremely well. They will learn all the frameworks. They will learn libraries that are applicable in their job area. That's done. Life is sorted, right? You have a cushy job for the rest of your life. You want to be a cyber warrior, you want to be a hacker, then you have to go much deeper to understand. So how was Python itself made? For example, when Guido von Rossum was developing Python, what did he use to make Python, right? Now I want to extend Python, so what do I learn to even extend Python? Or I may want to develop my own tool, right?
So I, as a student, should I start with C, C plus plus, or do I start with Python and then move forward?
Yeah.
Because
No, always start with something that gets you in
Right.
a very fun manner. So programming language per se doesn't matter. Programming language is just what we call syntactic sugar. Uh, you can apply, you can learn syntax. You can learn a one new programming language every month. Once you get the concepts right. So start with something that you are interested in and that gets you on, and you are having fun with it. It could be Java, it could be Python, it could be Rust, it could be Go. That doesn't matter. Once you are having fun with programming itself, right, and you find yourself at a stage where you think that I want to tinker, so I want to break open the system, and you find yourself looking for Python source code on GitHub. That time you realize that you are in the right place. Now you
Right.
can proceed from there, and there's no ending to that.
And does it matter if I pick, let's say, as a beginning, so Python, Java? What about front end codes like JavaScript?
So it'll depend. Like for example, Python and Go or Rust, they are extremely effective for backend programming, right? Node.js, for example, is JavaScript but for the backend. Um, but as I said, context matters a lot, right? So let's say you are building an application which has two components. One is the front end and one is the back end. Front end you are managing with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They are usually used to give you a functionality for an interface. HTML will give you structure, CSS will give you the design, JavaScript will give you the front end functionality. You can't do, but that's it. You're going to be a very good front end developer who can make very nice, pretty application that interacts with the backend, which can have Node.js, and it could have Express and MongoDB as a database. You're building web applications, or let's say mobile application. So that's a stack. It's a MERN stack or mean stack, whatever stack that you're using. You are on your path of becoming a great software developer, which can make commercial applications. But at least you've gotten in, you know how to program, you're having a lot of fun with it. You're having a lot of fun just building applications, animations. So, but you find yourself hooked now. For whatever reason, if you find yourself trying to actually, control finer aspects of your machine or the entire system, which your regular toolkit is not giving you access to, then you know that you want to explore other tools that are available. Python actually is very, very powerful. But if you move on to, let's say, C, Python, and all that, so you can actually use Python to achieve all that stuff. But you have to be a great Python programmer. First, you have to get there and then go beyond.
And so when you're talking about, let's say, you're having fun with building applications and all that, so you're saying I should learn with doing projects. As I do projects, I'll be able to learn, or
Yeah. So get your hands dirty first, right? Dive in. Don't think too much. Don't be very fearful about what do you need to do. Dive in to anything that sparks your interest. And they said life finds its own way. So once you are there and having fun, you will figure out that based on your interest level, you are already exploring a lot of things on your own. This usually happens, let's say, if you're a biker, right? First part is that you'll get a bike.
Yeah.
First few months, you'll just be riding big time, right? But at some point, you'll be like, okay, you have your bike parked in your garage. You'll want to open it up and see what's happening inside. But that'll happen after a few months. After you are, you're juice the bike, then you'll open up the engine. You want to see what's going on. You'll open up the exhaust pipe and see what's going on. If you figure something out, you'll want to try something on your own. You're like, okay, let me tune this and see what happens. If I change the exhaust pipe, do I get more thrust or do I lose power? let me change the, you know, the tank a little bit. So it all starts, usually with just having fun with a certain programming language or a toolkit, and then when you have mastered it, then you'll naturally want to go beyond. That going beyond is the hacker phase, right?